rehabilitated, and real entertaining. This is the Carl Jackson Podcast.
Welcome to this Labor Day edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. This is the podcast where we bring you your daily dose of objective truth in a world of lies. Please remember to subscribe to the podcast everywhere podcasts are found: Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, and Rumble. Also, you can go to the SalemPodcastNetwork.com, SalemPodcastNetwork.com. You can subscribe there, roll down or scroll down, find my podcast there, or simply go to thecarljacksonshow.com. That is thecarljacksonshow.com, and become a subscriber. Really do appreciate it. Also, follow me on social media. Everywhere that I am on social media, you can find me at The Carl Jackson Show. That's Twitter, that's Getter, that's Instagram, that's Facebook, that's True Social. That's I think I said Getter, but I really want to build up my True Social and Getter account, so please find me there. Twitter as well, The Carl Jackson Show, The Carl Jackson Show. And then also a new special for Mike Lindell. Mike Lindell continues to roll out the specials at mypillow.com. We all love Mike Lindell. Mike Lindell is a patriot that is fighting for election integrity. He is fighting for this nation, and we all want to be a part of that. Listen, you can be a part of that and fighting for this nation and election integrity, and buy yourself a bit of comfort as well. So right now, not only are the Percale bed sheets on sale for $29.98, if you use my promo code, that's $29.98 now. That is that's unbelievable. But also the Giza Dream sheets as well. So now, the Percale and Giza Dream bed sheet sets are available in a variety of colors and sizes, and they are all on sale for as low as $29.98 with our listener promo code. What is that listener promo code? It is simply Carl. All you have to do is go to mypillow.com, click on the radio listener square, enter that promo code Carl, or you can give them a call at 800-858-0263. They come with a 10-year warranty, a 60-day money back guarantee. Now, 60-day money back guarantee, not limited, limited time or whatever. Or crap, I just screwed up on that. You're gonna have to edit that. Sorry, Gabe. The Percale and Giza Dream sheets are breathable and have a cool, crisp feel. They come with a 10-year warranty, a 60-day money-back guarantee, so you can't beat that with a bat. Don't miss out on this incredible offer. Again, all you have to do is go to mypillow.com, click on that radio listener square, enter the promo code Carl, or give them a call, 800-858-0263. You guys heard about Bed Bath & Beyond as well. Remember, they kicked Mike Lindell. They kicked My Pillow out of their stores. Sadly, the chief financial officer committed suicide the other day. Really sad. Just jumped from an 18-story building. Gabe, I can hear you pretty. Just jumped from an 18-story building. So sadly, they kicked my Gabe, I can hear you pretty loud. Can you hear me? All right. So sadly, the chief financial officer of Bed Bath & Beyond, after having to close over 100 stores, jumped to his death last week. Such sad news. The guy was only 52 years old, but these are the people that kicked Mike Lindell out of Bed Bath & Beyond. Just sad news all around. And now they seem to be paying the price as well. Obviously, the lockdowns played a huge part in that. The truth is, as many people say on the right, if you go woke, you go broke. That's certainly what has happened to Bed Bath & Beyond. I believe they were probably going down, but let's face it, going woke and the lockdowns expedited that process. Not sure that they could have been able to turn things around, but they certainly didn't help themselves out by kicking out people like Mike Lindell and telling customers they're not welcome. A certain half of the population, basically, that they're not welcome or their products aren't welcome in the store. Just a silly, silly business decision. Guys, I want to talk to you about something different that I don't think anyone's going to be talking about today. I love finding evidence of what a despicable human being Joe Biden is. You know, let me start here. What government does oftentimes is they create a problem and then they try and fix it, or they pretend as though they can fix it. And the goal is to make you believe, as American citizens, people that, listen, we live in a democratic republic. What do I mean by that? We don't live in a democracy, right? We live in a democratic republic. A democratic republic means everyone can participate in the election process because it's bottom up. It's we the people up. But what we do is we elect representatives to play it out and fight it out in the system. If we get tired of those representatives, we can vote them out of office in 2 years. Every 2 years when it comes to Congress, every 4 years when it comes to the presidency, every 6 years when it comes to the Senate. So this is the power that we have. But our power, all of us get to participate, but we elect representatives to fight for us in our system of governance. What the federal government tries to do is or people in the federal government, within the federal government, particularly those that benefit off of federal government, what they like to do is pretend as though you need more and more government in order for your life to be fulfilling, in order for your life to be, have meaning or something like. I mean, it's insane, but this is what government does. They create problems and then they pretend as though they can fix them. Hence, man-made climate change. So they create the hysteria of man-made climate change, and then it's like, whoa, government is the only one that can fix the problem. Government is the solution to the problem. There may not even be a problem, but the government creates the mass hysteria, and then it's all of a sudden we've got to do something about it. A lot of voters get scared, and they're like, oh my God, we've got to do something about it. But the only ones that are big enough to handle man-made climate change. I mean, look at the sky. We can't handle the sky. The only ones big enough to take care of a problem like that is the federal government. It's really stupidity at its finest, but a lot of people buy into it. Gun control is another thing. Guns are a big problem. The Second Amendment, it's not unlimited. You know, guns are a massive problem. So look at all the murderers. Look at all the gun violence. All the gun violence, as if guns are the reason for the violence and not the people that are holding the weapons. Look at all the gun violence. We've got to do something about the gun violence, right? We got to do something. Look at this. Mass public shootings here, mass public shooting here, mass public shooting there. The federal government needs to step in and solve this problem because you can't solve this problem. You, by having the Second Amendment, you, by being able to defend yourself, you can't solve this problem. The federal government has to step in. So they create a crisis. And then they pretend as though they have to fix it. Healthcare. Oh my God. We got a pandemic. All other science in the past goes by the wayside. All of the things that we've learned through pandemics of the past goes by the wayside. The government is the only ones that know how to deal with this particular pandemic, except they didn't. So they created this mass hysteria, which is what the federal government does because they want you to believe that we need them. And the truth is, a government is a necessary evil. We do need the federal government in place to protect us from enemies, from foreign enemies primarily, right? We do need a system of governments. We do need a rule of law. And that's exactly what the Constitution provides for us. We also have the Bill of Rights, negative liberties, in other words, what the government cannot do to you. So we have a very fascinating system. But the government and leftists, particularly within the government, are the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party used to be a liberal party, somewhat socialist. Now, let's say they're straight up communists. A lot of people don't know this that vote for the Democrat Party, but they are so far left, it's not even funny. And that's why the Democrat Party constantly tries to project what they believe onto us. That's why Joe Biden gave his little Satanist speech last week at Independence Hall, projecting what the left does onto us, calling us, the people on the right that are the fascists, when it is he and the Democrat Party by and large that are in bed with big tech and some of these major corporations to implement ESG scores, to implement all this wokeness across corporate boardrooms, not just here in the United States, but globally. It's pretty insane. So they project what they are and what they do onto us. But the bottom line is what the federal government wants to do is pretend as though they're needed. They need to be bigger and bigger and bigger in order for our lives as everyday citizens to be better and better and better. And this is simply not the case. Let me take a swig because here's where I want to go with this. I found out some information, hat tip to the Federalists, how Senator Biden helped create the student debt crisis that now President Biden is pretending to fix. So it was Senator Biden who helped create the student loan crisis And now he wants to fix it. So I want to get into the details of this. This is very fascinating, but I will never let an opportunity to bash Joe Biden go to waste. I will never let an opportunity. I believe this is likely the most corrupt president, not just in modern American history, but all of American history. The guy is a total debacle. I mean, he's horrible at his job. There's no doubt about it. But I really believe this guy is an evil guy. Oh, Carl, how can you say evil? It's such a strong word. Well, as we find out more, look at this guy that pretended to be he ran on uniting the country. Look at the guy is doing everything but uniting the country. The guy is dividing the country. The guy is doing a bunch of stuff, taking power for himself that he never ran on that stuff. So he just lied to the people that voted for him. Yet people are going to continue to vote for this guy because what the left has taught people to do, or their voters to do, is to hate people simply based upon their political ideology or their party affiliation. And it works. As much as we don't want to admit it, it works. But here's what he did. Joe Biden created the student loan crisis that he's now attempting to fix. This article says, obviously, there's a lot wrong with the student loan forgiveness plan. We know that. It's morally wrong, right? It's morally wrong for someone to go to school, take out a loan, and then say, I'm not going to pay it back, or I'm going to leave it up to others to pay it back. Economically, it's damaging. Legally, there's a lot wrong with it, too. We know that it's blatantly unfair. We know that it will create inflation, contrary to the lies. Whenever you put more money on a credit, you can't put more money on a credit card and say, I'm going to pay less. I mean, you really have to be, two fries short of a Happy Meal to believe that. You don't put more money on a credit card and think you're going to pay less money. No, you're going to pay more money. You're going to pay more interest, and you're going to pay for a longer period of time because you just put more money on the credit card. That's just simple. And it's illegal. It's unconstitutional. We all know that. Here's the kicker. As a senator in 2005, Joseph R. Biden pushed changes in bankruptcy law. Wait until you find out why he did this and whom else was involved. I'll let you start thinking about that now. Whom else would be involved? Joe Biden pushed changes in bankruptcy law on behalf of the credit card industry that helped precipitate the student loan crisis today. 45 million Americans owe about $1.6 trillion in student loans, and most of the debt is owed to the federal government. Only 8% is owed to private lenders. That used to be the opposite. It used to be total opposite before Barack Obama came into town and changed all of this. And all of this was meant for a federal government takeover. You have to wonder, where the hell are the Republicans in this fight, right? It's absolutely amazing. It's almost as if they are always like, you remember your teacher back in the day used to call out your name, the attendance sheet, Carl Jackson here. It's like Republicans. Like, where are they? Where are they? I mean, the country has been collapsing for God knows how long. And I'm like, where's the Republican Party fighting against this nonsense? So here's the deal. In general, borrowers that can't afford to pay back their loans, they could file for personal bankruptcy. Joe Biden tore that system up. So some debts, particularly those that are owed to the government, cannot be discharged, but consumer loans, credit cards, you guys know this, credit cards generally are dischargeable. So that has always been the case. I remember getting my first credit card. I believe, if I recall correctly, it was a department store out here in Florida called Burdines. I used to love some of the, high fashion stuff at the time, Tommy Hilfiger, Nautica, all that kind of stuff. And I can remember being approved for a $400 credit card. Oh, man, I thought I was a bum. What? $400? I think if I recall correctly, I think right away I bought like $120 worth of stuff using my credit card that I could not that I couldn't afford at the time. I was like some little, I'm pretty sure I was 18 at the time, like barely legal, right? And these people were sitting here giving me a credit card, and I was totally irresponsible with money at the time. I couldn't even pay back the $120. I was like, $120, no problem. I make X amount of money in my check every, couple of weeks, so no big deal. I can pay this back in no time. I'll have it paid off by, God knows when, by the end of the month or whatever. And then the next thing you know, I'm sitting there because life always hits, right? And then I'm paying minimum payments on $400. Insane. Don't do that. Kids, please don't do that. Parents, don't get your kids into credit card debt. Totally stupid. Before you know it, I never paid it off. I never paid. I think I even went back, if I recall correctly, and made another purchase of $100 or thereabouts, and I just never paid it back. I was like, when the bill would come, I would just be like, oh my God, I can't afford this right now. I was paying rent and all this kind of stuff, just trying to live as a young teenager out of the home, trying to take care of myself. And I just got myself into stupid issues, but you learn a lesson as a result of those issues. The problem is Biden has taken the ability to learn their lesson away from our youth. So it says here, before 2005, young people who were overwhelmed by their student loans from private lenders, they were able to get relief by filing for bankruptcy. All right. So even student loans from the government, they had been dischargeable, or you could file for bankruptcy as late as 1976. I think we need to bring that back. If private lenders or the federal government knew they'd be on the hook for student loans, there would be a lot more scrutiny when it comes to lending, don't you think? This is the reason why, and people are always going to default. People always get into financial situations. We understand that, but not at the level that's occurring now. I'm getting ready to get into some stats shortly that'll blow your mind. And I'm going to show you more Joe Biden corruption, because I never want to let an opportunity go to waste to inform you of how corrupt and evil and despicable this man named Joseph Biden is, Joseph R. Biden. The guy not only is a wannabe tyrant, he has just been corrupt for as long, going back is probably as long as he's been in Congress. As a senator, and then on to vice president and the presidency. This guy's corrupt. He's known how to make money, or he's learned how to make money within the federal government, and it's absolutely insane. But again, if private lenders or federal government knew they would be on the hook for these loans or defaults on the loans, don't you think there will be a little more scrutiny on who you give loans out to? Oh, I'm sorry, you are not going to go. We're not going to give you a loan for social justice basket weaving, right? You wouldn't have degrees like that. Obviously, I'm being facetious, but there are some degrees that are truly as worthless as social justice basket weaving that exist, right? Now, obviously, there are upsides and downsides of bankruptcy, and this is very, very important. I'm going to show you shortly how these bankruptcy laws were in place. Joe Biden and a group of Democrat senators removed them. Joe Biden started to profit financially off of this. I'll get to that in just a second. But first, let's understand how important bankruptcy laws are to our society. The upside of bankruptcy for the debtor, obviously, is you get a clean slate, right? You wipe your slate clean. Oh, my God. Thank God I don't have to pay these exorbitant payments anymore. I can just focus on moving on with my life. The problem is so many people that file for bankruptcy still don't learn how to spend correctly, don't learn how to save. They have no financial plan, so it ends up hurting them. It ends up hurting them, doing more damage oftentimes. If you don't learn how to handle money, listen, I'm a Dave Ramsey fan here, so I had to learn. I went through a whole bunch of hardships financially until I started learning about money, first by taking a Sunday school class at my church. Thank God they offered that. That started teaching me about money. I just wanted to learn. I was tired of making money and never having anything to show for it. So I went to a Sunday school class, and later I went to Dave Ramsey. Started learning about Dave Ramsey, listening to him on the radio and stuff like that. So there's obviously an upside to bankruptcy. Again, you get to wipe the slate clean, no sweat off your back, right? All that, the weight of the burden of debt is relieved. But then there's a downside. What is the downside? The downside is, we all know this, you screw up your credit. You screw up your credit royally, and you screw up your credit. I don't know what the numbers are now or for how long. It used to be about 7 years. From what I understand, you can rebuild your credit in a shorter period of time now. I don't know how long that is. But but once you do that, you're a proven bad risk to lenders. So the only way you're going to get a loan at that point after you file for bankruptcy is, first off, it's going to be extremely hard to get a loan. And if you do, there's going to have to be some collateral, or if you get a loan, your interest rate is going to be extremely high. which makes the loan typically not worth having. But I understand some people find themselves in a predicament that, they feel as though they need to do that. The article goes on to say, but that's just as it should be. You shouldn't be able to walk away from your debts and stiff your creditors with no consequences at all. That is right. That is right. You have a moral responsibility to pay back your debt. And if you don't pay back your debt, then there's consequences. And I'm not saying that as some tyrant or some guy that doesn't care about this. Or I don't like to see people go through pain. I've gone through pain. I've gone through financial pain. I've gone through financial hardships. I know it isn't easy, but I know that it also isn't someone else's responsibility to pay for the decisions that I make financially. That's just morally and ethically wrong. So the fear of being branded a risk by credit agencies, that's an incentive for people to pay. The incentive to be able to buy a home or purchase a car with a lower interest rate, these are all incentives for people to want to pay back these loans. But once again, Joe Biden and a group of 18 senators kind of did away with that in 2005, and nobody talks about that. So this is a very good article. I'm so glad that it's come up. Biden protected the banks. Biden protected the banks. Again, someone else was involved in this stuff. I'll share that shortly here. So 18 Democrats, including Biden, changed bankruptcy laws back in 2005. One of the changes barred most student debtors from being able to discharge their private loans or basically file for bankruptcy. It left a tiny loophole for some student borrowers, but it wasn't available to the vast majority. And I don't know what the loophole was. I don't know what percentage of student loan borrowers were able to take advantage of this so-called loophole. I don't know exactly what that means in this case. But again, one of the changes barred student debtors from being able to discharge their private loans. Well, Carl, good. They had to pay. They had to pay them back. Well, that does sound good, all right, because they had to pay them back. But who does this benefit? This benefits big government. This benefits big bank. This benefits big academia, because this is when big academia started saying, okay, this is good news. They can't, the borrowers can't discharge their loan. Well, you know what I mean? Now it's like all of a sudden these banks want to lend more. The federal government wants to lend more. Academia knows that they can just keep raising the price of a college education because these people have to pay them off. We can add staff. We can build new buildings. We can add social justice basket weaving to our curriculum. People can get a 4-year degree in that. Once they leave, they're going to have to go work for SeaWorld, but nonetheless, they're going to feel great that they have a social justice basket weaving degree. So this is the downside of this stuff. This is the downside of Joe Biden teaming up with, with another 18 Democrat senators, or 18 Democrat senators in total, including Biden, to change our bankruptcy law. So government created this crisis of the student loan debt crisis, and now Biden is pretending to fix it. It's absolutely amazing to me. What he did was he basically created a sweetheart deal for the banks and the lenders. That's what he did, right? We know in general, again, private consumer loans can be discharged. Biden kind of did away with that. Students stripped student loans of bankruptcy protections. They borrowed too much, couldn't find the kind of employment that would let them pay off their loans, and they began to buckle under the strain once all of this stuff started to occur. This is amazing. Biden wanted to strip these students or strip student loans of bankruptcy protections. I mean, this stuff is amazing. I'm kind of reading some of this stuff as I go here, so bear with me. I'm just astonished by this. So again, students borrow too much. They couldn't find the kind of employment that they needed to pay back these loans. And they buckled under the strain. Listen to this. Student debt tripled in the decade after 2005. Listen to that again. Student debt tripled in the decade after 2005. More than 1 million people were defaulting on their student loans every year. Once Joe Biden, along with 17 other Democrat senators, basically gave a sweetheart deal to banks and lenders. Students can't default. Students can't default on their loans. They have to pay them back. Right. And they, again, we look at this and like, yeah, great. They should have to pay them back. But again, look at the chaos that it created. Oh, students have to pay them back. Again, academia. We can build bigger campuses. We can hire more people. We can implement a new degree programs. The banks, great. We can lend. We can lend as much as we want to. Regardless of these people's credit history, perhaps, regardless if they're a little 18-year-old snot-nosed kid that wants to go to Harvard and spend, hundreds of grand, hundreds of thousands of dollars, it doesn't matter. We can make it happen. These people have to pay it back. Oh man, we are sitting pretty. And the federal government, of course, they get to look like, oh my God, see, we want equity. Not just equality, we want equity. We're going to make sure that everybody and their mama, regardless of how dumb they are, can go out and get a college degree. They're going to get massive student loan debt. Thank you, Joe Biden. Really do appreciate that. You've done a great job. Now, since Joseph Biden did that, again, student loan debt has tripled in the decade after 2005. The worst part is student borrowers who realized they could take advantage of these student loans. What did they do? They went out, they took a loan in social justice basket weaving, and many of them dropped out. For whatever reason, maybe they couldn't handle the rigors of school. Maybe they just realized they needed to work, but they got a degree, or they didn't get a degree. I'm sorry. They dropped out of college. They never got a degree, but they're still stuck with the loan. These are people that probably would have never gone to college if, in fact, the banks and private lenders were allowed to make sure that they could, that these loans were still bankruptable, if you will. The banks and the private lenders will look at these people. They will come in at 18 years old. Son, you ever had a job? Young lady, you ever had a job? Young lady, tell us your financial responsibilities in the last few years. What have you done? Do you have any history, financial history? Do you have any rental, whatever it may be? I didn't realize that's pretty young, but whatever it may be. No. The banks didn't have to do this. Lenders didn't have to do this. Oh, you want this much money? Oh, okay, good, cool. Where's the scrutiny? No, I'm not lending you $200,000, you little snot-nosed kid. Are you crazy? Get out of here. If your parents can't afford to send you to college, or you haven't worked and scraped and saved and you're not working on the college campus to pay for you, get out of here. We're not taking that risk. But Biden said, guys, banks, my homies in the banks, I'm going to protect you. Just lend the money. Now, here's where some of the corruption comes in. I'm going to read some of this because it's just too juicy. And let me take a quick swig here. This is going to get juicy. You're going to hear a second name come into this. And it's not going to surprise you. Wait, no. It's not Gabe Cassiano. Some of you, no, it's not Gabe. It's Hunter Biden. Carl, what does Hunter Biden, what does he have to do with 18 Democrat senators protecting the big banks? Hooking big banks up, hooking big academia up, hooking big lenders up. Well, Joe Biden is corrupt. He's got to get his cut, right? See, we think the Biden corruption only extends to when he was VP? Sending Hunter Biden around? No. Joe Biden found ways to make money off of his son much earlier than that. Hat tip to Federalists. Why did Biden staunchly back this change? And actually, the change in bankruptcy law, essentially, The Federalist asked, why did Biden staunchly back this change, even as Democrats like Teddy Kennedy denounced it for, and I quote, sacrificing Americans to the rampant greed of the credit card industry, close quote. Now, I never thought I would be quoting Ted Kennedy for anything good. And back in the day, I might have thought it was Ted Kennedy pulling the whammy. But no, it was Biden. Biden had been a long time water carrier for the credit card and banking industries at the time. Both he and his family profited from the arrangement. It says here, Biden has long had mutually rewarding ties to the financial services sector, as do many members of his cabinet and others in his inner circle today. But in the 2003 to 2008 Senate electoral cycle, Biden received more than $500,000 from credit card companies, financial services, and banks. For decades, he was especially close to the credit card company known as MBNA. Now it's part of Bank of America. So much so that Biden himself felt obliged to say, this was in 1999, and I quote, I'm not the senator from MBNA, close quote. Like so much else that Biden says, this was false. He was looking out for the big banks. For over 20 years, MBNA was Biden's largest contributor to his senatorial campaigns. MBNA, here's that name, hired Hunter Biden straight out of law school. Credit card company that's hooking Biden up in his Senate campaigns hires his son straight out of college. Just when Biden tried to prove that he was not the senator from MBNA, but from Delaware. But oddly enough, MBNA hired Hunter Biden straight out of law school, and he didn't just get a regular starting position, right? You would assume, right out of law school, listen, you're not going to get, you're going to start from the bottom. You're going to work your way up. Well, not in Hunter Biden's case. He was made an executive right out of college. And he retained his services for 5 years after he left college for an undisclosed sum. So we don't know how much. He was a consultant, by the way. So during the years when Biden was backing and voting for a bill that enriched corporate lenders, the big banks, and screwed over student borrowers by not allowing them to discharge their debt, Hunter was still on MBNA's payroll. Isn't this fascinating? So 17 years later, the reckoning has come. Now Biden had to do something to fix the problem that he helped create. He was a major part of creating. That's why we got the $500 billion giveaway of this student loan forgiveness that hopefully will not go through and be found unconstitutional, because a president does not control the purse. He does not have the constitutional power to forgive debt. That's asinine. That is insane. People that say otherwise are just lying. So Biden's loan forgiveness won't do anything to stop the growing prices of college. It won't do anything as far as the bankruptcy laws are concerned. Won't create better lives for some of these students. It's not going to change the industry at all. We're going to be right back where we are in less than 10 years. I'd imagine it'd take five or so years. We're going to be right back where we are, even if the loans are forgiven, because more people are going to be allowed to borrow for unnecessary or stupid degrees that they have no business borrowing money for. And these laws are still going to be in place because I don't trust Republicans to get rid of them. Hopefully they will. Hopefully this will be a rally cry. This is something that we have to do. Listen, not everybody belongs in college. I do believe that some people should be in college. There are some basically industries, some jobs that I think probably require a college education, but I don't think the vast majority of them do. I think plenty of the college degrees that exist could go by the wayside, and I think people can go to trade school, or people can go straight to work out of high school and learn under someone, an apprenticeship. Learn how to get better and better. If you want to become an entrepreneur, you can make money that way. Here's a better plan according to the Federalist, and we'll wrap it up here. But I just want you to know that Biden profited off of his son. Right out of college, he started profiting off of his son. This is a despicable human being. This is a guy that uses his children in order to enrich himself. That's a despicable human being. Corrupt as all get out. And apparently always has been. All right, so if Biden had considered the public interest, this according to the Federalist, a better plan, he could have proposed a plan to Congress that would have enabled student borrowers, whether in debt to the government or private lenders, to discharge their debts in bankruptcy. I just said that. At least if they had paid, let's say, 7 years worth of loans, this would have returned the student loan program to something more like its earlier incarnation. So we should go back to the days. Sometimes being regressive is not a bad thing. Student loan debt would be a good idea for us to be regressive as far as the way student loans are handed out to people. We need to change the bankruptcy law. These students should be able to file for bankruptcy and add that into their bankruptcy plans if indeed they do go bankrupt, because this will tell creditors or lenders right off the bat, this is too much of a risk. We're just not going to do it. Hey, instead of borrowing $200,000, we're going to let you borrow $30,000, and you're going to have to work your butt off if you want to go to an Ivy League school or some extremely extravagant, expensive school. Maybe you start off in junior college and then you go to a state college afterwards. It says here, so some of those whom Biden's program benefited, likely the ones best able to shoulder their payments, would likely not have chosen bankruptcy. Now, anybody can choose bankruptcy. On the other hand, the borrowers in greatest distress would have taken advantage of the opportunity. And if Congress enacted these changes, their legality would have been unassailable. But no, this could have hurt the banks. So rather than trying to repair his past mistakes, Biden chose the quick and dirty but less effective fix. And that was to get rid of student loan and just forgive student loans, or at least a good portion of student loans for student borrowers. Absolutely insane. But this is another example of the government creating a crisis and then stepping in to fix the crisis just so they get votes. They create the crisis, they step in to fix the crisis that they created. And then it gives the perception to many other voters, the government, the federal government, are the only ones that can fix this problem. When in fact, the federal government and too much federal government, too much government involvement always makes things worse. Seems to always make things worse. If there's an example where I'm wrong, please feel free to message me on my Facebook, The Carl Jackson Show on Facebook. You can message me on Twitter, Carl Jackson Show on Twitter. Message me on any one of these places if you think I'm wrong, but wherever they seem to make things worse. They're supposed to protect and defend us from our enemies. They're even making the military woke. It's insane. But guys, listen, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Remember, don't forget to take advantage of that great deal with MyPillow.com. You have Giza bedroom sets, or good Lord, let me just, you're going to have to cut that. Good Lord. Thank you. All right. You don't forget to take advantage of the MyPillow deal, right? You have the Giza Dream bed sheets. You have the Perkel sheets that are available to you. These are all fascinating. You'll love them. They're cool. They're crisp. You'll absolutely love the feel of these things. All you have to do, go to mypillow.com, click on that radio listener square, use the promo code Carl to take advantage of that deal. Also, you can call, if you prefer to do that, 800-858-0263. That is 800-858-0263 if you prefer to go that route and take advantage of this deal. Buy early for Christmas. Maybe some of your kids that have gone off to college, right? You can send them some Giza Dream sheets or some Perkel sheets that they would absolutely love. Just tell them you've been thinking about them, or just stock away. Buy some of this stuff early, especially while they're on sale. $29.98. You use the promo code Carl. All right, mypillow.com. Use the promo code, click on the radio listener square, use the promo code Carl, or call 800-858-0263. Don't forget to follow me on social media, The Carl Jackson Show. Really love to see you on Truth Social. Really love to see you on Getter. Also on Instagram. Please like and follow us there. Follow us everywhere where you can find us on social media, and subscribe and share this podcast. But please, guys, please spread the word. This guy, Joe Biden, he's a despicable human being. We have to make sure that not only he loses in 2024, I presume he's going to run at this point, unless we hear otherwise. A lot of ramblings of people that could possibly run on the left, but until we actually see that to be true, or until that's confirmed, I'm going to assume that he's running. But in the meantime, let's make sure that we share and spread this message. This guy is he is corrupt, and he has always been corrupt, using his son straight out of college to profit, to enrich himself. This is who Joe Biden is. This is who Joe Biden always has been. He doesn't know anything different. That speech that he gave last week in Independence Hall, that's just natural. It's given. It looked satanic because it was. I even beat Monica Crowley. I love Monica Crowley, but I even beat her to the punch. You can prove it. Follow me on Twitter. I can prove it. Follow me on Twitter. I mean, that looked straight up like Satan's lair. But this is all Biden knows. All Biden knows is corruption. All he knows is power, because he's had it for nearly his entire life. He's had power. That's all he knows. Doesn't know what it's like to live in the real world, to scrimp, save, work hard. He doesn't understand that. He understands government power. He understands government force. He's a despicable human being. All right, guys, appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Until next time, don't grow weary doing good. God bless you. Hope you have a great Labor Day.